Welcome to the Real Estate Asset Management Podcast, brought to you by Break of Day Capital. The show focuses on educating syndicators and apartment owners on how to build systems and manage their properties more efficiently to become a best-in-class operator. 100% straight talk. Let's jump in. Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Real Estate Asset Management Podcast. I'm your host, Gary Lipsky. Be sure to join our Facebook group, Asset Management Mastery, where we have a great community of thousands of like-minded individuals sharing resources and best practices. I'm excited to announce that this is our 100th episode. It's awesome to go to conferences and have people come up to me and say how much they enjoy the podcast and that they've learned so much from it. I know I've learned a bunch from our amazing guests, from Ryan Burke, Maureen Miles, Tim Bratz, Anna Myers, Brendan Hall, Vina Jetty, Gene Trowbridge, Jeremy Roll, Jason Yarusi, Michael Becker, Danny Rendazzo, and so many more. In episode 5, we had Neil Boa come on the show, and he spoke about mega leasing. And with his economies of scale, he's able to invest in some of his own marketing for his property and squeeze a bit more profit out of them. And that little profit goes a long way when you divide it by the cap rate. So he's got a lot of great ideas. I love hearing from Neil. In episode 10, we had Merrill Callister come on, and he talked about KPIs. What gets measured gets managed, and through KPIs, you're able to really drill down and see what's working and what's not, and what adjustments you need to take. It's critical that you have KPIs on all of your properties and your business as a whole as well. In episode 17, I talk about value add strategy. When we're looking at a property, we start thinking about the value add really when we get the OM, what we can do to the property. We also discuss pivoting and having that flexibility with padding in the CapEx budget and reserves, because you never know when as things evolve on the property, you might want to be able to pivot or do something else that will really juice your eventual sales price. Because at the end of the day, you're going to sell that property, and every little increment that you can add to your income line will really juice your returns. In episode 73, I had Andrew Rybczynsk from CoStar talk about cap rate compression, where interest rates may go, and how it affects, so much capital chasing deals. I'm actually bringing back Andrew in about a month or so, as he'll talk about the end of Q1 2022 reports and what to look for in the coming months. So be sure to check that episode out. In episode 77, we had Gino Barbaro come on, and I loved his energy regarding building a business. He talked about defining your core values, how to structure your business goals and meetings, setting up systems early and often. This was a 20-minute MBA. And if you haven't listened to that podcast, make sure you do. In episode 90, we had Andrew Westling talk about the bridge loans versus fixed, pref versus common equity, what lenders look for in sponsors, and how buyers will have to adapt to rising interest rates. Really informative. In episode 92, we had Nikolai Ray come on and talk about financial engineering. Knowing your numbers and consistently going back to them are so critical. He definitely had some good insights that I haven't heard others talk about, so you'll want to check that one out too. Like I said, I've learned so much from so many amazing guests, and I hope you have too. Be sure to go back and listen to podcasts you missed, as we cover so many great topics of asset management, and also go back and listen to ones that you really liked, and you'll get new golden nuggets by listening to it a second time. Even if you've never done asset management before, there are some very easy basics that will get you far. One, asset management takes consistency and detail. You can't just do it in the beginning when you buy a property and trust your property manager will execute your business plan and won't make mistakes. you may get lucky and that happens, but there are a lot of good property management companies with great people, but they aren't owners of that property. What makes you think they'll go that extra mile if you aren't? And people make mistakes. I'll admit I make mistakes. So don't expect your property management team to be perfect as well. So you need to stay on top of it and check all their work and keep them in line. Really, really important. And there are so few really good property managers, property management companies. There are plenty of bad ones out there too. So trust me, you've got to stay on top of it every single week. You also need a map, and what I mean by a map is it's an acronym for M stands for measure everything. What gets measured gets managed. And I mentioned earlier KPIs. So you're tracking everything, and you could break it down and really understand what's working and what's not, and that's the M. You also need accountability. So every time we have our weekly call, we track everything in the Google Drive for everyone to see. If something needs to get done, we assign to that person when it's going to get done, what's that task. And so when we go back a week later, when we have our weekly call, and if it's due then, most likely it's going to get done because that person doesn't want to get called out. So that accountability piece is really important. We like I said, we use a Google Drive. It doesn't cost anything. So really, really simple way to do it. There's any number of ways that you can do it. That's the way we do it. And like I alluded to earlier, you need to be proactive. That's the P, MAP. Don't get complacent and fall asleep at the wheel as your property manager. Well, we'll do the same as you. Why are they gonna go the extra mile if you're not? You owe it to yourself and you owe it to your investors. Well, like I said, I hope you learned a lot from our podcast. This is a wrap for this episode. I appreciate you for coming on this journey with me and listening to so many amazing guests each week. 100 episodes. Very grateful. And if you'd like to see our future opportunities at Break of Day Capital, be sure to head over to our website right now and sign up for our free Passive Investors Guide and newsletter so you won't miss out. Again, go to www.breakofdaycapital.com right now. And you could also fill out our investor application there and schedule a call with me if we haven't spoken before, or if it's been a long time. I'd love to stay in touch with you. Be sure to follow us on Instagram, YouTube, and LinkedIn. And if you like this episode, be sure to head over to iTunes and Stitcher and subscribe, and review this podcast, as it will help us grow our audience. Thank you so much. We'll talk to you next week.